Plus, the Christian treated in Pakistan most of time very badly when they are working in the Muslim factories, mills, and our young girls go for the stitching work, and most of time forcefully they got marriage, and sometimes forcefully they kidnap, and after they have the forcefully marriage and change their religions. There are so many other things are ongoing, but there is not the justice system is properly working for the minorities, and the Pakistani Christians, they are suffering a lot and treated very badly, not getting the complete right. Over the past few months, we have witnessed an alarming increase in violent incident of intolerance of extremism in our country. Some of most recent incidents include the suicide attack on Bethel Memorial Methodist Church in Quetta, inhuman targeting of Patras Masih and Sajid Masih, the brutal murder of Sunil Masih at Services Hospital, Lahore, Punjab, Pakistan, the incident of target killing of Christians in Quetta in less than 2 weeks, and more than recent incident of Asma Yaqub, a Christian girl who was burnt with acid after refusing a marriage proposal by a Muslim man, Rizwan Gujar, and passed away on April 22nd, 2018.
According to tradition, Christianity reached the Indian subcontinent in the 1st century, and there is evidence for a Christian presence dating back to the 3rd century in early Christian texts. But the early Christian presence in what is now Pakistan was obliterated following the invasion of Islam in the 11th century. Western missionaries brought Christianity back to the region, and the first mass conversions in the 1870s were among the most despised members of Punjab society, the untouchable people, who formed the lowest level of the caste system. The Churas were viewed not only as inferior, but also as unclean. They carried out dirty and menial jobs, such as sweeping, and observed a religion that was kind of a Islamized Hinduism. By 1911, there were nearly 164,000 believers in the Punjab religion, which today straddles northwest India and northeast Pakistan. By 1935, almost all the Churas were Christians, and even today, most Pakistani Christians are of Punjabi origin. The term Chura, which is commonly taken to mean a latrine cleaner, is viewed as intrinsically insulting by many Pakistanis. In 1947, British India was partitioned into separate Hindu and Muslim states, India and Pakistan. Partition triggered violence and the mass movement of 14.5 million people, as Muslims, Hindus, and Sikhs relocated. When large numbers of Muslims arrived in Pakistan, many Christians working in agriculture lost their jobs to the new arrivals. Forced into towns to seek work, typically in low-status jobs, many became impoverished. The new state of Pakistan, which included what is now Bangladesh, was home to more than 500,000 Christians. The flag of a new country carried the traditional Islamic symbol of the crescent and the star on a green background, representing the Muslim majority, with a vertical white stripe symbolizing non-Muslim minorities. Pakistan was founded on ideals of equality between Muslims and non-Muslims, but the country's constitution and laws have been gradually Islamized, eroding the position of religious minorities.
In Pakistan today, there are over 200 million people. Christians account for less than 3% of the population.
Pakistan's Christians are a suffering, vulnerable minority. They face violence at the hands of Islamist terrorists, discrimination in work and at school, and live with the ever-present threat of blasphemy allegations, which have led to Christian communities being ransacked and destroyed by Muslim mobs. Authorities often turn a blind eye and are sometimes even complicit in crimes against Christians, including the abduction and forced marriage of women and girls.
Attacking churches is an unchecked trend in Pakistan.
On Sunday, December 17, 2017, two Islamist terrorists attacked the morning service at Bethel Memorial Methodist Church in Quetta, killing 9 Christians and injuring more than 50. Many more of the congregation might have died had it not been for the courageous efforts of 2 men who managed to lock the church gates and delay the attackers. Grandfather George Masih, 63, and 36-year-old father of 5, Sultan Masih, not related, were both killed.
In September 2013, the clock in All Saints Church, Peshawar, remained stopped at the time of the bomb blast, which claimed the lives of 127 Christians and injured and maimed many more. In March 2015, 2 churches were bombed in Lahore, which killed roughly 24 Christians. In 2016, 2 other churches were set on fire in Kashur and Lahore. In October 2017, militants threw a grenade at Gospel Faith Church in Quetta. In December of 2017, another church was attacked in Quetta, killing 9 worshippers. The state of religious freedom in Pakistan remains adverse in spite of provisions written in the Pakistani Constitution. Article 20 of Pakistan's Constitution guarantees the freedom to profess religion and to manage religious institutions. Yet, Pakistan was still ranked 10th in the world in 2015 in terms of the greatest social hostilities involving religion. In its recent report, the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom 2018 stated, "The government of Pakistan has not addressed the spread of sectarian or religiously motivated intolerant speech and has not prosecuted perpetrators of violent crimes against religious minorities." And yet another incident of religious intolerance, unidentified vandals set an under-construction church named Gospel of Jesus Mission ablaze in Paracha Colony, Shadra Town, Lahore, on the afternoon of April 15, 2018. The altar, pulpit, dozens of Christian books, carpets, pedestal fans, plastic chairs, tables, wall clock, wooden crosses, tarpaulin, handmade fans, and worship instruments were desecrated and burnt to ashes. While speaking with International Christian Concern, or ICC, Pastor Yusuf Aziz John said, "We started constructing this church about 3 years ago and are still collecting small donations for it. We had erected walls of the church and used it for church services. It has no roof. However, the community's commitment is appreciable for their love for Christ. For the last couple of years, we have been using tarpaulin for half of the total yard of the church," John added. "We could not blame anybody for doing such a horrible act. However, it's clear that Christians are unacceptable in this society and are not given equal rights, equal dignity, and freedom of religion." Asim Masih, a member of the church and eyewitness of the incident, told ICC, "There is no other option to enter or exit the church except the main door, which was closed. Therefore, we are sure that a firebomb was thrown over the roof, which burnt the tarpaulin and then put everything inside the church into ash. We are a poor community," Masih continued. "We did not have enough funds to complete the construction. Everything we had has burnt. I don't know how we will be able to restore the church, as the officials even have not visited us." Javed David, the chairman of Hope for Light Ministries, said, "There is a hostile attitude against Christians in the society. In 2014, we had to face a severe resistance while building a church in a village near Lahore. People abused us and threatened us of dire consequences. The Muslims pelted stones at our under construction church. Such things are conducted to create a fearful atmosphere that the community may abandon the place. In 2018, several attacks on Christians, their properties, and their places of worship speak volumes about the situation of religious freedom in Pakistan. The community as a whole is frightened and worried for what is to come in the future.
Pakistani Christians have endured years of violence from jihadists, but despite this, they remain firm in their faith in the Lord Jesus Christ and courageously meet together Sunday after Sunday, knowing they might be targeted and killed. Christians are also the victims of day-to-day violence. Stella was the only Christian member of the staff at the medical clinic where she worked in Lahore. One Muslim colleague falsely accused and repeatedly insulted her, but the management at the clinic held Stella in high regard and supported her. On the 25th of April, 2017, Stella's Muslim colleague attacked her with acid. Stella lost consciousness and required medical treatment. When her family reported the attack to police, the attacker's relatives threatened them to try and make them drop their case.
A 25-year-old Christian woman, Asma Yaqub, died in Lahore after she was attacked and disfigured with acid. Her only fault was to have spurned a 30-year-old Muslim man named Rizwan Gujar from Sialkot. Minority women face double discrimination, or if you like, various layers of prejudice, said Ayla Gill, coordinator of the National Commission for Justice and Peace, speaking to Asia News. The government should take immediate notice of all these growing incidents of intolerance against minorities. Forced conversion of religious minorities should be criminalized, and the Acid Control and Acid Crime Prevention Act should be enforced to prevent these crimes against women. Asma had been employed as a beautician for 2 years and was proud of her job. Her brother Nabil, 23, works as a banner printer at Panaflex, where he became a close friend of Rizwan, a Muslim. In the past few months, Rizwan became a regular visitor at the Yaqub house and befriended Asma and eventually fell in love with her. About 3 months ago, he asked her to marry him and to convert to Islam, but she refused both requests. In order to avoid problems for her brother, she did not tell her family. But after the refusal, the young Muslim became aggressive and violent towards her. She tried to avoid him and ignore him whenever he visited the family. On April 10th, Rizwan's anger and frustration boiled over. He went to Pakpura town, where Asma had gone to work on the hair of a number of women who were preparing for a wedding. Claiming to be her brother, Rizwan got Asma to come out of the house where he attacked her, dousing her with acid and setting her on fire before running away. Asma's screams attracted the relatives of the future bride, who rushed her to the nearest hospital. She was later transferred to the burn unit of the Mayo Hospital in Lahore, but the doctors could not save the young woman, who had burns over 90% of her body. Miss Gill noted that the aggression suffered by the young woman is the 5th episode of its kind against the minorities of Pakistan in recent months. We are witnessing a worrying increase in violence and incidents of intolerance and extremism in our country. It's so strange that a woman cannot say no to a marriage proposal. In Lahore, the post-mortem report of Sunil Salim Masih, who was killed in March of 2018 at Services Hospital during a clash, revealed the deceased was lynched to death. However, the investigator in charge of the case, Inspector Husnain Haider, termed this incident as a murder committed by those who belong to a noble profession. He was badly beaten, and the culprits later put the body in an empty room to conceal the facts, he said. The official stated that CCTV video has been confiscated, but the suspects could not be taken into custody as they obtained pre-arrest bail from the court. Let me tell them that the blood of Sunil Masih will not go in vain, he commented.
17-year-old Sharoon was beaten to death outside the school office after getting into an argument with a Muslim classmate on August 30th, 2017. Students and teachers stood and watched while one boy continued to hit Sharoon as he lay unconscious on the ground. Sharoon was the only Christian in his year group at the government high school in Punjab. Christian students in government schools face possible violence and daily discrimination. One examiner assessing a home economics class with Muslim and Christian students refused to touch what the Christian girls in the class had cooked and tipped it into the bin, saying it would make her unclean. The Christian girls failed the exam. In December 2017, a 6-year-old Christian girl was shot and killed when a Muslim moneylender, accompanied by a mob, attacked the home of a Christian family. The family had taken out a loan of 40,000 rupees, which is the equivalent of $593, and were struggling to meet the lender's repayment charges. Police registered a case against the moneylender, but did not arrest him.
The plight of Christians has persisted for decades, but there has also been a rise of hatred against Christians since the late 1980s, when the dictator Zia-ul-Haq introduced Pakistan's blasphemy law, particularly used to persecute Christians.
Because of the blasphemy laws, Pakistani Christians are only one false accusation away from imprisonment, potentially being forced to flee their homes, or even mob lynching. In November 2017, 5 Christian families were forced to flee their village and go into hiding after a Christian teenager was accused of blasphemy on a Facebook page designed to mimic a news outlet. The post called for local Muslims to burn his church and give him the death penalty. Shortly afterwards, a Muslim mob gathered in the village after Friday prayers, and the families fled, fearing for their lives. In 2013, hundreds of Christians in Joseph Colony, Lahore, were left homeless after a mob ransacked the community, torching 178 homes, as well as Christian-owned shops. Local Muslims were incited to attack the Christian community after a 65-year-old man was accused of insulting Muhammad. Mosque loudspeakers broadcast calls to kill the blasphemers.
A pregnant Pakistani woman, killed alongside her husband for alleged blasphemy, was wrapped in cotton so she would set alight faster, relatives who witnessed the horrific attack revealed. On November 4, 2014, Christian couple and brick kiln workers Shama Bibi, 24, and her husband Sajjad Masih, 27, also had their legs broken so they could not flee the mob that locked them inside a brick-making factory before this egregious and senseless murder was committed against this young couple. The couple were surrounded by a crowd of at least 1,200 Muslims and thrown on top of a brick kiln where they were burned alive, witnesses said. They picked them up by their arms and legs and held them over the brick furnace until their clothes caught fire, family spokesman Javed Masih told NBC News, and then they threw them inside the furnace. He said Bibi, a mother of 4 who was 4 months pregnant, was wearing clothing that did not initially catch fire, so the mob removed her from over the kiln and wrapped her up in cotton to make sure that the material would burn faster. The killings were sparked by the mob's belief the couple had desecrated a copy of the Quran. By the time the attack was over, only charred bones and the couple's discarded shoes remained. The gruesome incident took place in the tiny hamlet of Chak 59 near Kot Rada, Kishan town, 60 kilometers southwest of Lahore. Cameraman Malik Abdul Aziz, who witnessed the killing, has described firsthand the brutal attack that unfolded. He said about 1,200 people gathered from nearby villages after being stoked up by local clerics who announced the couple had committed blasphemy over the loudspeakers of their mosques. They started beating the couple with sticks and bricks, chanting slogans of "We will lay down our lives for the honor of the Prophet," and then tore off their clothes. The couple were screaming, begging for mercy, and saying they had not committed any sin. The mob dragged them for around 20 yards and laid them on top of the brick kiln oven and kept them there till they were burnt, he added. It was not clear whether they were already dead or burnt alive. The illiterate couple had been falsely accused of tossing out pages of the Quran along with the garbage, thereby desecrating the Quran. Riaz Anjum, the lawyer representing the couple's family, said a total of 103 people had been charged in the case, but the court in the eastern city of Lahore had acquitted 90, including the owner of the brick kiln, a man named Muhammad Yusuf. He had been accused of locking the couple up as they tried to flee for fear they would default on their debt to him. Churches in Pakistan have started a movement to demand justice for Christian cousins accused of blasphemy. Justice for Sajid, justice for Petrus, cried Pastor Riaz Malik as he pointed his finger at a photograph of Sajid Masih, 26, who jumped from the 4th floor of the Punjab headquarters of the Federal Investigation Agency, or the FIA, in a suicide attempt on February 23, 2018, while being interrogated with his cousin. His cousin, Petrus Masih, 18, was arrested on February 19th for allegedly posting an insulting photo of the burial place of the Prophet Muhammad on a Facebook account. Sajid Masih claims he was being punished for an act allegedly committed by his cousin, and that security authorities had ordered the two men to engage in a homosexual act as they attempted to force confessions from them both. Critics say police duress in such cases is common in Pakistan. In January 2018, the dead, battered body of a teenage boy was found in Faisalabad. 15-year-old Faizan Bashir was a 9th grade student who went missing for days. According to police, his body was found in an open field outside of a village, Chowk 243RB, in the Dakot area of Faisalabad district. Following an autopsy, police handed over Faizan's body to his family. The doctor who carried out the post-mortem examination suspected that Faizan was sexually assaulted before being strangled. It is my opinion that the victim was first subjected to sodomy and then strangled to death. Marks on the hands and feet of the victim appear to show signs of resistance, said Dr. Khalid Iqbal, in charge of Rural Health Center, Dakot. Under Pakistani law, there are several criminal offenses of blasphemy. The two most serious are desecrating the Quran, which carries a mandatory life sentence, and defiling the name of Muhammad, which is officially a capital offense. No executions have yet been carried out, but a number of Christians and others are on death row. There is no penalty for false accusations, and the laws have become a vehicle used to settle personal scores. Non-Muslims are particularly vulnerable to false accusations by Muslims. Proposals to amend the laws have been met with violent street demonstrations. Among those on death row for blasphemy is Aja Bibi. Sentenced to death in 2010, she has spent nearly 9 years in prison. The most recent attempt to appeal her conviction collapsed when one of the 3 judges recused himself. Aja's husband and children had to go into hiding after she was accused. Aja was the first woman to be convicted under the blasphemy laws after she was accused of insulting Muhammad during an argument with fellow women field laborers, which started when they refused to drink water that she had fetched because she was a Christian. She is being kept in solitary confinement because of fears for her safety. Irfan Masih used to clean sewers in Lahore. When he collapsed at work on June 1, 2017, his colleagues rushed him to the hospital, but the first Muslim doctor who saw him refused to treat him until his sewage-covered body had been cleaned. The doctor claimed touching Irfan would have made him unclean during Ramadan. Irfan died on the hospital floor as his family desperately tried to wash him and give him oxygen. In classical Islam, Christians and Jews, or the people of the book, the Al-Kitab, living in a Muslim-majority state, are what are known as dhimmis. While pagans face execution, dhimmis are spared but become worse than second-class citizens. Dhimmis are required to pay a humiliating poll tax or tribute tax called the jizya as a sign of subjugation, have reduced legal rights,
and under some Muslim rulers were historically forced to wear distinctive clothing. Christians in Pakistan have never officially been given dhimmi status, but the gradual Islamization of Pakistan's laws and constitution has eroded their originally equal status. In lower courts, there is a tendency for the judiciary to believe the word of a Muslim over a non-Muslim, in line with Sharia laws, which rule that the testimony of a dhimmi is of lesser value. A tiny number of Christians have held positions of high office in Pakistan.
Shahbaz Bhatti was Pakistan's Federal Minister for Minority Affairs and the only Christian in the Pakistani government from November 2008 to March of 2011. He was a well-known crusader against the nation's strict blasphemy law and diligently lobbied for the rights of religious minorities. Bhatti had been the recipient of death threats since 2009, when he spoke in support of Pakistani Christians attacked in the 2009 Godhra riots in Punjab province. These threats increased following his support for Asia Bibi. The United States had tried to obtain increased security for him and get him an armored car, but were unsuccessful. According to the BBC, Bhatti was traveling to work through a residential district, having just left his mother's home, when his vehicle was sprayed with bullets on March 2, 2011. At the time of the attack, he was alone, without any security. His driver reports having stopped the car and ducked when he saw armed men approaching rather than attempting to evade the threat. Bhatti was taken to a nearby hospital, but he was pronounced dead on arrival. He was 42 years old. The group Tehrik-i-Taliban told the BBC that they carried out the attack because Bhatti was a known blasphemer. Bhatti himself foretold his death and recorded a video which was to be released in case of his death, where he said, "I believe in Jesus Christ, who has given his own life for us, and I am ready to die for a cause. I'm living for my community, and I will die to defend their rights." He died a martyr's death while fighting courageously to repeal the blasphemy laws. And let us never forget his courageous and selfless sacrifice.
But many more have found it impossible to advance beyond a certain level in the civil service, armed forces, judiciary, or medical profession. One Christian who was appointed head teacher of a school in Punjab was beaten up by Muslim teachers in October 2015, who told him, "You are a Christian and a chura, so how can you be headmaster and our senior?" Much of the Muslim majority regard them as second-class citizens, at best. The majority of Pakistani Christians live in poverty, confined to menial jobs with few prospects. Christians' status as dhimmis is used as a religious pretext to justify discrimination. This negative view of Christians, stemming from Islamic doctrine, reinforces the discrimination of the ancient caste system, which saw the first chura Christians relegated within society. Pakistani Christian women and girls are especially vulnerable to kidnap and sexual violence. 12-year-old Monica was kidnapped in August 2016. 4 days after she disappeared, local police in Lahore informed her father she had converted and married a Muslim. They produced a marriage certificate which stated her age as 18. Refusing to be cowed by threats, her father pursued the case and secured a court hearing, which is a rarity, where the judge demanded a second hearing be held with Monica present. At this time, there has been no second hearing. Monica remains married, quote-unquote, to her kidnapper, and her father has died of stress due to the situation. An estimated 700 Christian women and girls are kidnapped and forced into Muslim marriages each year. Hindu women and girls are also targeted. Attempts to enshrine protections in law against forced conversions, specifically intended to safeguard Christian and Hindu girls, have been blocked by Islamists. A recent survey of 10 brick kilns in Punjab found that more than 60% of the workers were Christians. Many Christians toil in brick kilns across Pakistan, working out in the open in nearly all weather, making bricks by hand. Frequently, the debts hang over families for generations, meaning they lose a cut of their meager pay. While the debt remains, they cannot leave their jobs. Effectively trapped, they are extremely vulnerable to discrimination from their employers. Some brick kiln workers have been sold like slaves from one owner to another. Pakistani believers are a persecuted, vulnerable minority. Although they have a place on the nation's flag, they are denied equal status in society and face daily discrimination, seemingly unrelenting violence, as well as the threat of false accusation. Pakistan's Christians are a people betrayed by successive governments increasingly enthralled to Islamists and by many in the international community, including and especially in historically Christian countries like the United States and Great Britain, who ignore their plight. To conclude, I've included a short interview that I was blessed to conduct with a dear Christian brother from Pakistan for this documentary. He provides vitally important information, including solutions to the problems facing Pakistani Christians that only a Pakistani Christian on the front lines can provide. In order to protect his identity, I've altered his voice and made sure that he is anonymous. Without further ado, here's the interview.
The Christians are under the 3% in Pakistan of established estimated 220 million people, but the community is spread all over the country, making it almost impossible for Christians to elect representatives who share their religion because they lack the number in a free for all pool. Almost always faced with the choice of a Muslim candidate from a mainstream parties, they have to depend on the handful of reserved seats for minorities of representations in the 342 seats parliament, where non-Muslims, minorities, Hindus, Sikhs, Parsis, and Christians have only 10 seats. Those seats are given to friends and favors of ruling parties, not actually spokesperson of our Christian community. The Christians are not only soft target for the militancy, but also victim of socioeconomic and political exhilations. From the basis in school textbook, the everyday poverty Christians take out are living on the edge of our world, the world of Sunni Islam majority. The Christians are considered to be inferior and are largely politically powerless and impoverished. The Christians are among the poorest and most marginalized people in the country, and discrimination against Christians is motivated not only by religion but also by caste. Over the past few months, we have witnessed an alarming increase in violent incident of intolerance of extremism in our country. Some of most recent incidents include the suicide attack on Bethel Memorial Methodist Church in Quetta, inhuman targeting of Patras Masih and Sajid Masih, the brutal murder of Sunil Masih at Services Hospital, Lahore, Punjab, Pakistan, the incident of target killing of Christians in Quetta in less than 2 weeks, and more than recent incident of Asma Yaqub, a Christian girl who was burnt with acid after refusing a marriage proposal by a Muslim man, Rizwan Gujar. She fought for life in the Lahore New Hospital of Punjab for 2 days. However, she lost the fight and passed away on April 22nd, 2018. The incident showed the inability of National Action Plan to center extremism, counter extremism, and intolerance in the society. The government must ensure that the particulars of these heinous crime are brought to justice. In the at most important that the government of urgent basis address this wave of intolerance in society. The strategy would have to be mixed short-term and long-term goal, which need to then be put in action and also monitored for achieving the required objects. Such kind of attacks on minorities of increasing day by day. However, government and relevant institutions are not taking any serious notice. We are demanding that National Action Plan for Human Rights by Ministry for Human Rights should be implemented to significant minority, safeguard minority and women rights in the country. Government should immediately constitute the Independent National Majority Right Commission to resolve the issues of minorities. So, because the Christian treated in Pakistan most of time very badly when they are working in the Muslim factories, mills, and our young girls go for the stitching work, and most of time forcefully they got marriage, and sometimes forcefully they kidnap, and after they have the forcefully marriage and change their religions. There are so many other things are ongoing, but there is not the justice system is properly working for the minorities, and the Pakistani Christians, as I explained in above lines, they are suffering a lot and treated very badly, not getting the complete right, even not the few rights, but not the complete rights. There is no chance that if the Christian leaders, the pastors, church people uplift the voice of the persecuted Christians around the Pakistan for the justice, and almost the person who will be also uplift the voice, he also got in a trouble just due to the sources, due to the relations, and the international media and international NGOs, ministries, churches, and laymen and other daily people, the businessmen who have a Christian faith peoples. Most of time when the Pakistani Christians people, when they are facing the persecution, and if they have some such kind of sources with the organization, with the people who can be take stand and rescue the people, so this thing will be bring out the more powerful Christians become a real voice of the persecuted Christians in Pakistan. And secondly, the question answer is that the Christian community in Pakistan is not its position to fight alone against the discrimination, prejudice, and the persecution they are facing, since many decide Therefore, they really deserve for support, for attention of world community for their rescue and protection. Many organizations are striving for the promotion and protection of basic rights and fundamental freedoms through limited resource. The Christian community needs financial and ethical support to fight against religious intolerance and maximum. There is need to take collective step to aware the people regarding their basic right and fundamental freedoms. We have underlined the under-mentioned possible support by our Christian brothers and sisters from outside of Pakistan, internationally all over the world, where the NGOs, prayer warriors, ministries, missionary peoples, the church leadership, the business people, and all the Christian faith peoples who love to have a great passion for the persecuted Christians. So these are the lines I would like to share. Number one is financial support to strengthen the organization and capacity to raise voice for their right, thus to stage, protest, and discrimination at the time for violation of basic right, incident of violence, and all sorts of discrimination and persecution. When most of time in this line, I would like to say something more. When most of time, then some type of incident happened. So if we have the proper resources, the funds, and the prayer people and international organization who can provide us the backup, so we have the time to uplift the voice through protest, through media, through newspapers, and through Facebook and other nowadays social media activities like Twitter and others. So through this we can uplift the voice, and people must know what's ongoing. Reserve fund for paralegal and legal assistance for cause against Christians people. So we need also some type of the reserve funds which we can be saved, and when any time any incident happen, and suddenly we have no need to just write and ask for the funds. But if we have the reserve funds, when the incident happens, we just inform our brothers, sisters and brothers and organizations who can take a part and go through us, so we can rescue the people. And the third is support to conduct training workshops and seminar and press conferences. We can aware the people through sport, then conduct the training workshops. We call the young leaders, pastors, elders, deacons, NGOs, and social activist people and human rights activists in one place where we can organize a training workshop to create an awareness in the people. When the incident happens, how to lift up the voice. And we can also organize the seminar and press conferences. Number 4 is protest for the demonstration out of Pakistan by our brothers and sisters also can contribute as a great support for our demands. So the international brothers and sisters who live in abroad, other countries, they can also organize a protest when something happened in Pakistan with the Pakistani persecuted Christian community. So what they can do, they can also lift up the voice where they live, so they can protest. This thing also will convey the message how the minorities are suffering in Pakistan. Number 5 is we need support for lobbying with media, community leaders, religious scholars, and parliamentarians for sensitizations for our issues and its best possible resolves. So we need to lobby with those peoples also, media, parliamentarians, so we can also build a relationship with them. Those relations will also help us to rescue our persecuted Christian community. Number 6 is we need support to increase political awareness, which will make the community unable to support our leadership who will fight better for their rights. Number 7 is we need support to conduct activities for promotion of peace, tolerance and social harmony, and we need to strive for unity. All churches should work together for the protection and promotion of our basic rights. So all things which we mention, the one thing I would like to request you, encourage you, which can be make all things possible, which we need on the basic. It can be say on the top our need. This is the prayer and fasting. When you will be take stand with us through prayer and fasting, all the error and barriers should be broke, and Lord Spirit will be released the persecuted Christians of Pakistan. So we need, when you are not be able to support us, when you are not be able to take stand with us, at least your prayer can be raised the voice, and we will be able to witness for the Lord Jesus Christ. I pray in the name of Jesus Christ, all the brothers and sisters who can be listening to this interview, may the Lord Spirit touch their hearts, mind, and souls, and they can be filled with the passion for the persecuted Christian community and the minorities of Pakistan. May the God bless you. Have a great day.